Hi guys and girls, welcome back to Watch the Time. Thanks for tuning back in, thanks for coming back to see me. I'm really pleased you've done so, and I'm exceptionally pleased about to bring you another WM watch. At least that's what I'm calling it. It's called WM. I had the watch myself, but makes sense, doesn't it? They're a watch company. I'm featuring their WM226. It's their Glacier series. I've got the purple one, the one I really wanted to take a look at. They're doing some excellent stuff. I think they're vastly improving. Every watch I get in from them is a marked improvement on the last one. They've got a few coming out now that just look really, really nice. I've got to a point, I've just said to them now, if you want me to review a watch, just send it over, because I'm quite intrigued by the watches they're releasing. They've kind of been a staple of the NH35. Hopefully that's something that changes. I would like to see it on the fly, just clasp being a bit more standard. The clasp I've not been too enamored with, to be honest, but the dial, the hands, the indices, the finishing, it looks very, very nice. We're creeping towards San Martin. We're not quite San Martin, but we're getting there. And I think WM Watch, given the fact they listen, I know they comment on my videos, they reply to other people's comments on my videos. It shows they're very engaging. So when you're like that, the only way is up. The only way is you're going to improve. So all very good signs. And you'd have seen this watch in my sale video. I did have it in then, as well as a WM227, which you'll see a review for very soon. But I'm very, very optimistic about this one. But is it all that in a bag of chips, as I say? So get yourself a nice beverage, a nice brew, because it is about that time to get the camera turned around and get on with it. Hi guys, so this is the watch, WM226. This is slightly different packaging than I've had in the past. I did look at this in my sale video, hang tag, warranty card, user manual, all that stuff inside. I quite like what they've done now in terms of this, their own iteration of these cases. We see them with Chronos, we see them with San Martin. Zip, and then you got 3 links that I've taken off for it to fit my wrist. Push pins, would have liked to have seen that actually with screw pins, given the sort of style of watch it is, given how much better the quality is getting now with them. Nice velvety material, just keeping it nice and safe in transit. And this is the watch. It's a beauty, isn't it? Really, really nice. WM226. A couple of other colours to choose from. This is the one I opted for, just because I thought it looked best. Pretty straightforward, nothing too complicated about it, but lots and lots to like about this watch, and hopefully that'll become clear as we run through the review. So inside the watch, it's running a Seiko NH35 movement. I'll bring the information about that movement now. What can I say about this movement I've not really said before? Rugged, reliable, does the Bezel. I've said also before, the AK-47 of the automatic movements, just because it's so hard, he keeps going, does the job really well. 24 joules, 21,600 vibrations per hour, or beats per hour, 41-hour power reserve, and a really good, reliable movement inside this watch. The construction, aside from the crystal, is all 316L stainless steel. So that's the bezel, crown, case back, solid end links, bracelet and clasp. I'm particularly impressed with the sort of level of finishing that they're doing on the case. I love the shape of the case, the bezel, really nice sort of polished elements throughout. Excuse my fingerprints, guys. But yeah, really nice 316L stainless steel, predominantly brushed, but some real nice polished elements in there that play with the light nicely. Really impressive, to be honest. The case thickness of the watch is 12.4 millimeters. The case diameter I measured from the 8 to the 2. It was coming in at 39.1 millimeters. When you go from the 9 to the 3, including the crown, it was coming in at 41.6 millimeters. The lug width on this is 20, good old 20 millimeter lug width. That tapers down to 18 and back up to 21 millimeters at the clasp. Yeah, a bit strange. It does feel a bit thicker, the clasp, so I wasn't really surprised. The lug to lug tip, the tip of the watch, is 45.6 millimeters. That does become 51.6 when you include the male end links to the center link, which is a bit disappointing, a bit more length than it needs. So, but yeah, they're the proportions, guys. The case back is screwed down, sterile. Would like to have seen a bit of signage on there. I like a nice case back. That's pretty plain, but nice and easy to unscrew if you need to get to the movement for whatever reason. The bezel's nice. brushed with a nice polished facet going around the outer edge. Again, just a nice level of finishing. Crown is situated at the 3 o'clock, screwed down, nicely signed with their logo, which I'm not hating, to be honest. I think it looks quite nice. I'm glad they settled on the WM instead of having that sort of welly Merc thing going on. So yeah, much, much better. So that's the crown. Nice bit of taper on the bracelet. So it goes from 20 to 18. Push pins, as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to have seen that being screw pins, just because I think that would look a little bit nicer, a bit more premium. But they're nicely brushed. You'll see sort of satiny brush polish at the sides. Fully milled clasp. This watch was crying out for on the fly. Gives you several levels of micro adjustment, but on the fly would have really taken this to another level, to be honest. Yeah, double safety pushers, and then undone it comes. So there we are. So that's the clasp. The crystal covering the dial is a sapphire crystal, and I'm actually quite liking the clarity. There's quite a bit of domage going on from the crystal. Looks double domed, but does the job really nicely. Lets you see the star of the show, really, which is the dial. So I'm pleased to see that the clarity is good on that sapphire crystal. The water resistance, the site has been 100 meters, so that'll give you 10 atmospheres of water resistance. And the weight will appear in the top right. So with those 3 links removed, it was coming in at 137.7 grams. So, and with those 3 links back in, probably about 150, 155. So yeah, reasonable amount of heft, guys, considering it's not a very big watch. Not massive, 39mm, 20mm lug width, 45.6 lug to lug. So yeah, that's everything going on there. But let's have a look at the dial in a bit more detail. So this is a WM226, the Glacier series. The Glacier series being, because you can see the dial is supposed to look like different bits of ice, and I think it's stunning. It almost makes me think of Mosaic. I don't know why, but it really does. I like the way it plays in the light, the different sort of shades of purple you get off the dial. But you've got a minute track, go around the outer edge. You've got applied battens everywhere. So you've got a double batten at the 12. You've got a smaller batten down at the 6, giving us where the date is, and then the same battens everywhere else. The hands are done nicely, good proportions. I like the way they play in the light because they're faceted on the hands. Good proportions, as I say, on the second, minute, and hour. Sort of optimal to where you want them to reach out to. Some would like the second and minute to go a bit longer, but I like it, the fact it just sort of kisses the inside of the minute track, which is, for me, good enough. You've got the WM logo that's been applied just below the double batten at the 12. And I really like the way they've applied that. I think it looks really, really nice. That also plays with the light as you move around. Again, just screams a little bit of premium to me, guys, when you do stuff like that. You got the date window down at the 6, my preferred date location. They've color matched it, so it's purple with sort of, it's white writing, but it's almost tinged with purple. So it's not bright white, so it doesn't stand out too much, which again, I think is a nice touch. Not stark white against the purple. And like I said, the different shades of purple you get from the dial is just mesmerizing, to be honest. One of the nicest dials I've ever had in. I really do love this dial. They've executed it fantastically well. You're now thinking, Si, listen, what's the loom saying? The loom, is the loom up to it? Is it good? Is it bad? Well, I'll be honest, the loom was an area that I was hoping for maybe a little bit more, if I'm honest, and maybe being a bit greedy. But it's good, not great, not poor, so sort of in the middle, just actually a little bit above the middle. It's good, but it could have done with being a little bit better. The rest of the watch, for me, screams such premium that if the loom was slightly better, maybe 2 or 3 more applications of loom, this watch would have been unbelievable. Not that it isn't great now, but the loom would have just, yeah, really helped. So not fantastic, good loom, but yeah, one of those things. The movement inside I mentioned before is a Seiko NH35. So you take the crown out, it will hack. Now we'll scroll through together and we'll see. Bang on, it changes over. Well done, WM watches. Love that. And then what we're going to do now, we'll leave it as sort of just past us 5 past 8 position in the morning. So now I know I can change the date over in a safe position. Don't change the date between 8 p.m. 4 a.m. guys. It could really mess the watch up, but we know it's safe zone now. So we'll scroll through and then put it back into the neutral position. So it's just unscrewed from the case. If you turn the crown away from you, you'll hear that you can charge it. And then what I normally do so that I don't knurl it or cross thread it is towards me, away from me, and then screw the crown up. But that's everything going on there, guys. That's the dial, handed indices, loom movement. Let me just pop it on the wrist quickly, give you an idea what it looks like on my wrist. 1 second, guys. Okay, so guys and girls, this is what it looks like on my wrist. My wrist is a 7 1/4 inch wrist for your reference. And I think it's a little stunner, to be honest. I think it works really, really well. The bracelet's okay, the clasp okay, but I'm really loving the head of the watch, the finishing of the watch, the crystal, the dial, handed indices, date, location. I think it's stunning. But as ever, what are you all making of it? Okay, so guys and girls, that would now take me swiftly on to what I think is pants and Pukka about the watch. If you've ever watched before, you know I always start with pants. I like to go on a high with Pukkas. What I think is pants about the watch. Not a lot. There's a couple of things I'm going to mention just because I feel like this watch is fantastic. I'm going to go with the clasp. A little bit wider than I would have expected. But generally, an on-the-fly system for this type of watch would have been fabulous. I think that would have really, really been befitting of the watch because it's just such a nice piece. And the male wind links add in, what does it come in as? Extra 6 mil when you look at the length of the watch then, because of those male wind links. Yeah, unnecessary really. So they're the two things I'll say is I go with the clasp and the male wind links for what I think are pants. What I think is Pukka, considerably more, because this watch is fabulous. I really love this watch. The first thing I'm going to say is a sapphire crystal. I love getting a bit of sapphire crystal on my watch, means it's not going to scratch up. And to add to that, the crystal clarity. This has been lovely to film, to be honest, guys. I use 3 different lights to film my reviews, and it's been really, really pleasurable to review this just because the crystal's good. The dial, for me, the dial was a star of the show. When you can see me moving it around, the different shades of purple that kick off that dial is stunning. The handed indices, I'm a bit of a sucker for handed indices, especially when they play with the light as they do, and they've been executed to a good level, which I think this has for the price. And I'll bring the price up in front of me. I've not done that yet. That's going to fluctuate, guys, so do bear that in mind. The applied logo there looks fabulous. I'm not seeing too many applied logos anymore. Most of them get printed on, but that's been done really, really well. The date location, and to add to that, the date color. So both of them, so the location and the color, my preferred location, I love the way they've done the colour as well, in terms of it being sort of matched to the dial with the purple and not being so bright white. It looks good. The finishing, mainly of the head of the watch. The bracelet's nice, like a satiny brush on the top of the bracelet. But I mean, the head of the watch itself just screams quality, in my opinion. And finally, the general look of the watch. I think this watch is unbelievable. And one day of wearing this at work, I had 3 separate people say to me, your watch is beautiful, where'd you get it from? And I point them in the direction of AliExpress. I'm not so sure if they bought it, but they loved it, so there we are. So they're the things I'm going to say for Pukka is the sapphire crystal, crystal clarity, dial, handed indices, applied logo, date location, date colour, finishing, and the general look of the watch. I had to draw a breath for a second. And that'll take me on to, would I recommend this watch? And I mean, these ones are quite funny because, I mean, the head of the watch is unbelievable. If a couple of things that I mentioned get improved, this would be... I think with this watch, WM have put some bigger brands on AliExpress on notice, to be honest. If this is what they're doing, this is what they're going to continue to do with the steady improvements, is to be applauded. And I 100% would say pick one of these up. An absolute beautiful piece. But guys and girls, as ever, please let me know what you think about this watch. And maybe any other watches you may want to see on the channel. And as I always say, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and always watch the time. Take care, guys. All the very best.